Hi, this is Tim from Soigneur Bike Fitting, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to install the kit that I have developed for the Cannondale SuperSix and SystemSix that I have developed to be able to enable you to run mechanical gear cables internally through the headset into the frame. Firstly, to show you what's included in the kit, we have our 3D printed internal cable stop, two outer cables fitted with 3D printed cable couplers, two fresh inner cables, and a pack of 2 gear ferrules and cable tidies. This kit is designed to resolve two problems. Firstly, standard outer gear casing does not have a lot of flexibility, so it can't bend through the headset here without causing friction, compromising shift quality. So the supplied outer casing has greater flexibility that will bend through the headset without causing friction to the inner cable. This then lets us thread the rest of the outer gear casing through the frame, and then with the supplied internal cable stop, allows us to stop the rest of the outer cables here. So the first thing that we're going to do is remove the original inner gear cables out completely, so leaving the bar tape on still. And we're also going to remove the original gear cable stop as well. For the moment, just put the old inner gear cables aside because we're going to use those in a little while to guide the outer casing through the frame. We are then going to cut down the original outer gear casing. We're still going to use the outer gear casing that's connected to the shifter. But what we want to do is cut the outer gear casing approximately 4 centimeters away from the headset, as we want the kind of bend of the new outer casing to sit kind of in the middle of the headset. And we're going to do this to both sides. So just to cut that, and that's roughly what we should be left with there. We can then check our cable lengths by plugging on the new outer casing, and then we can check the bend and see whether it's going to run the right length through the headset. We should then look to prepare the new inner gear cables through back into the shifter and out of the cut down gear cables, leaving the new outer casing to one side for the time being. So the next thing we're going to do is take the outer casing, the new outer casing supplied again, and we're also going to take the offcut of the outer casing from the original setup as well. And what we're going to do is plug those two together. We're going to take then the old inner cable and we're going to thread this through with the new inner casing, the flexible inner casing, outer casing, sorry, on the opposite end. We're going to pull that all the way through. We'll then look to guide this cable through the frame from the port of the from the cable stop. And you might find this a little bit easier if you were to undo the stem bolts and just turn the stem or the handlebars off to one side. And what we're going to do is thread the inner cable through the frame and hopefully up the head tube. And you want to aim to get it to the side that the gear cable is going to run out of the frame. Sometimes take a bit of extra encouragement. There we go. And then what we're going to do is, having pulled the inner gear cable all the way through to the end, is start pulling the inner cable through the frame. And hopefully that cable should then appear. And from there, we can take that casing back out. And then we'll do the same with the other side. So once we've got the outer casing threaded through the frame, what we want to do is make sure that we've got the casing coming out of the headset set against where it connects to the cabling coming from the shifter. So we want to kind of match that up to about halfway through to the coupler that we've already got connected to that end. And then from this end, what we want to do is cut back to about 1 centimeter of where the back edge of the exit of the port is. So around about this much here. So once we've got the cables threaded through the frame, the next part is to install the junction box. We also have to install a couple of brake ferrules to the ends of the outer cabling coming here. A little tip, I actually always like to drill out the ends of the gear ferrules just with a 2mm drill bit, just to reduce the friction there a little bit further. So we can thread those onto the end of each of these cables. And then before plugging the system or the junction or the cable stop on, we're actually going to pull the cables, the inner cables, most of the way back out. This is just going to make it a little bit easier inserting cables back into the frame. So when putting the cable stop on, make sure that you're plugging it into the open holes and make sure you get each side correct as well, and they should slide through there, and then you just want to plug that on the end there. The next bit is a little bit fiddly. So what we're actually going to do is pull the inner cables all the way back out just until you can only see the very tip of the cable there on both sides. Don't want to take it too far at this point. And from here, we can push the cable stop back and push that down into the frame. And then what we want to do, just to secure the cables through the system, is just push them back through there again, so nothing is then going to fall apart. From here we want to screw this cable stop down. What we want to do is actually just pull up those two cables next to the stem very slightly. That's just going to take the slack out, because once we put tension on those cables, that should all lock the system back together again if anything has come loose from there. And then to screw these in, we're just going to use the same screws that we took out from the original cable stop. So again, if you feel that the cable stop is kind of being pushed, then just again pull up on those cables slightly. That'll enable you to kind of manipulate where the cable stop is slightly better, and you'll find that a lot easier to get those cables, or the screws even, back into the frame. You can tighten those on slightly. And that should now be totally secure. So jumping a step slightly from here, I've threaded through the inner cables back to their respective mechs. To do this, you might find it a little bit easier to remove the crankset, but I appreciate that not everybody's going to have the tools to do that. Here we've got the Shimano Ultegra crank on here, but most of these bikes come with Cannondale's own cranks, so you'll need a specific tool to remove that. If you haven't got that, don't want to get that, then there is a small port underneath the bottom bracket that you can unscrew, and you can work the cables through there. It's a little bit of a tighter fit. You might be able to use something like a spoke, a little hook tool, just to try and pull those cables through. But ultimately we want the cables back through the frame at this point and pulled tight. And here we want to check, before we cable all the mechs back up, tighten everything up here, we want to make sure that we haven't got any friction in the system that's going to compromise shifting. So what we want to do is putting tension onto each of the cables. We want to just test that firstly the shifting is working smoothly, and you don't feel it really dragging. And secondly, also we want to check that you can steer without any noticeable, at this point, any noticeable kind of pull on the cable. Exactly the same for the rear mech. Want to make sure that that is shifting nice and smoothly all the way through each of the gears. And again, just checking steering. We also want to make sure that the steering isn't compromised in terms of how far you can steer it as well. Once we've checked that, the bike's ready to be cabled back up. So once we've got our mechs cabled back up again, time to fit the wheels. Again, go through the gears just to make sure everything is shifting smoothly. Again, no friction affecting the shift quality. And what we're looking for is nice, fast, consistent shifting all the way through, and that it doesn't feel heavy at the levers to shift the gears as well. One thing to look out for when you have wired everything up is that because the system is closed in, not everything might have settled in straight away. So it might be that it needs to be shifted quite a lot just to compress the couplers here together and make sure everything is tight fitting. What you may find if not everything is close together is that the indexing of the gears might go slightly out. So give it a bit of a test, shift it lots, and then make sure everything is tight. But hopefully that is everything to get your cables threaded internally into the frame. Get that nice clean finish. Thanks for watching.